These episodes are intended for mature audiences. Viewer and listener discretion advised. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode on Stories of a Dandelion. Today, I got the opportunity and the honor to interview Jared. And today we talk about comparison and how it has shaped him to become the man he is today. I know it sounds crazy, but tune in to see and hear how the right comparison can actually help you in life. Promise it'll be just fine. All right. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Stories of a Dandelion. Today I have Jared, who I have not seen nor heard from since he left Belgium. Growing up, Jared was like my little brother. Like, as soon as he got to shape, I adopted him into my life, and he became my little brother. You did JOTC, so I was with you all the time, and it's just really good to reconnect and talk to you today. So welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, I saw you were doing these podcasts, and I knew I wanted to be a part of it. Love what you're doing, and yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for wanting to be on. So,
Absolutely.
First question.
Yes.
If you're 18 and you were graduating in 2023, what advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the advice I would give myself graduating at 18 would be don't limit yourself. And what I mean by that is a lot. The society really tries to pressure young adults these days. And I know when I was graduating, I felt very pressured that I needed to have life figured out, that I couldn't, change up what I wanted to do or I'd be unsuccessful. I couldn't explore different avenues. I had to have a college I was going to. I had to. Sorry, my dog is.
It's okay. Adorable.
I had to have my life figured out at that time and knew what I was going to do, so that way I could set myself up for success in a career or whatever field I chose. I was lucky in the sense that, my family, my parents specifically, always said, I think you work great with kids. You should do something that involves teaching or special education or something like that. I totally agree with them. I'm very outgoing. I did love working with kids. I found more patience working with kids, more than, my own age or adults.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of ran with that. And that's what I went to school for. I went to the University of Iowa and studied education. However, I am realizing that is the only thing that I kind of focused on and didn't explore other options. And so because of everyone telling me what I should be doing, and I kind of agreed, I didn't see what else there was out there that I was good at, that I really was passionate about. I did wrestle at the University of Iowa my first year getting there in 2016, walked on the team, and then got beat for a spot by another walk-on. So that was crushing. And kind of from there, I didn't really explore any other avenues except education. And so that's what I really would tell myself is explore what you like to do. Don't be afraid to fail. Or don't be afraid to go down an avenue and then, feel like you wasted your time and then you're a screw up and your life's a mess because things didn't pan out. I think that we should really not be afraid to fail. Through our failures is where we learn our greatest lessons. And I think you need to fail in life in order to figure out, what you really like or what you really need to do. So, so that's probably what I'd tell myself if I was 18 again.
Yeah, I get it. Like, for me, it was sports management. I went to school and I was ready to be a sports agent and everything. As you know, sports was my thing. It's what I did.
Absolutely.
And I got out of school and I went to college and I played for a bit, but
Yeah,
every
how come I didn't know that you played in college? I heard that in another.
it was a very short stint. It was like half a year because at the time when I was going through that and doing that, I was also still trying to adjust to being in the United States, being in a new culture, being around people that I don't know. I had an estranged relationship with my dad. I was away from my mom. So there was just a lot going on with me mentally that I was not able to continue to play basketball. And it was hurting everywhere. Like my school was, I never failed in school. I had like 2.4 one semester, you know? So it was just really bad. But I stuck with it, did sports management, graduated, got my business degree. Then I actually walked away from sports for a bit. And I went and worked with kids, and I worked at the CYS, had a good time. And the reason I have my job now was because I was going to do sports management, but now I've pivoted and I'm doing this podcast and I'm doing other things that bring me a lot of joy. Like when I do this, I get so much energy after that it takes me forever to like come down because it's so amazing, you know, to hear the stories.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, to be a part of this. So yeah, you're right. Failing is failing. I think for us as military brats, failing was not an option because of the military. So I can definitely understand and relate to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's just a testimony. And like we all have our, you know, trials and tribulations and our paths that we go down. And, you know, like we can't let, you know, just because, you know, something happens in our lives and knocks us down or gives us an unexpected curveball for that to, you know, set our course and our mindset on failure. You know, God shapes us in a lot of different ways and puts us through trials and tribulations that he wants to see how we handle. And it's how we come out of those trials and tribulations is a true test of our character. And I think, you know, you're doing great for yourself. And I hope that these podcasts take off and that this can be your full-time thing because you know, I truly believe that, you know, doing what you love is important and having a passion for sure.
Thank you so much. Means the world.
Absolutely.
So tell me how Jared came to be, like from the time you were born until the time now, because before you came to Shape, I have no idea about your life. So let me know.
That is a loaded question. And I could take up 4 hours talking about my life. Not that I like talking about myself. There's so much that's happened. Born in Fayetteville, North Carolina, on Fort Bragg, and then moved at a young age to Georgia. My mother was a single mother at the time when I was born of me and my brother, Bryce. You know, Bryce. And so she moved to Germany. We moved with her for a stint. That's where she met my stepdad, but we actually had to go live with my grandma here in Iowa for 2 years because it was just too much for my mom to, you know, have us over there while also working. And so, but she ended up meeting my stepdad, who I considered to be my real dad over there. And then we traveled just, you know, like every other military brat, you know, we were traveling. I lived in Maryland, Kansas, Virginia for a time. And then 9th and 10th grade year landed in Belgium. I lived in Germany previously, lived overseas in Germany when I was really young. And then when I was in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and then moved back to the States for a couple of years and then moved back. But, you know, the first time I heard about us moving to Belgium, I was like, Belgium? What is in Belgium? And my mom was like, oh, I'm going to be working for NATO and all these things. And I was like, oh, okay. It was kind of like a scary moment in my life because my whole life I had my brother. And so when I moved to Belgium, it was the first year, 20 12 was my freshman year of high school. So I was starting high school, and it was my brother's senior year. And I think you graduated with my brother, if I'm not mistaken, in
No,
20.
I
Year
graduated
ahead.
2014. No, he's ahead of me. I graduated 2014. He graduated with like Kirsten and Paris
Yeah,
and all of
yeah,
them.
yeah. So, but yeah, so it was kind of I went there in the first year I was there. I did everything with my brother. I did all the sports, cross country with Coach
Mm-hmm.
Foster, ROTC, JROTC. This was the first year I did that with Sergeant Ewing. Man, when you said JROTC, I brought back so many memories. I still talk to Message Sergeant Ewing every so often. Great instructor. And then yeah, and then shortly after that year, I got into wrestling. So that was my first year of wrestling, which really, sparked my passion for wrestling. And then my brother graduated.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole life sort of shifted because my whole life I constantly competed with my brother. And everyone goes, "How are you and your brother related? Like, you guys look nothing alike, and he's so strong and big and all that stuff." So that took a little toll, and I can get in later on my mental health a lot, just because I always competed with my brother and trying to be the most athletic person and being the strong. Like he just always pushed me, and other people pushed me because they'd compare me to him. And so when he left, I felt a little piece of my identity left because now I wasn't, like I was still, while I was there in Belgium, I was still Bryce's little brother. So like, was a good and a bad thing for me. Like my brother was, everyone got along with my brother. It was great. Like he had a good reputation, but again, still comparing me to my brother and stuff like that. And so that second year in Belgium was really hard. I had to walk to the bus stop alone. That was an adjustment. And then just had to, kind of make my own way, and figure things out on my own. And, occasionally my brother would come back for winter break, and things like that. He went to the University of Iowa as well on ROTC scholarship. And then we moved to Germany. And so that's where I spent 2014 to 2016 was in Germany, and we moved to Stuttgart. And that was even a crazier adjustment because now none of these people didn't even know my brother, which was a blessing and a curse. Like one was like, oh man, like, like I'm going to have to really, go out there, meet people, meet friends. And like, I don't have my brother's friends to, talk to her at all, or like it was. And I never thought it was hard to make friends as a military brat. That's one skill we learn pretty quickly, adapting to new atmospheres. But for some reason, when I moved to Stuttgart, everyone already had their cliques of friends. It was a lot harder than I expected to try to permeate groups of friends. Like people knew me as the kid from Shape that they went against in sports, and that thought he was so good at sports and like wrestling, and like I was this cocky kid from Shape that I was coming in. So people already had some preconceptions about me, which also made it hard. But on top of that, I didn't have my brother to like come home and talk about like school with. I didn't have, like this new experience. It was really on my own. And I grew a lot in that time, with just figuring out, my own self and how I was going to kind of shape my own identity. And it was good in the sense that, no one was comparing me to my brother. So I could really just make my own name for myself, which I did. I wrestled, played sports, and eventually, I got some friends and it became more comfortable. And then we actually got a new school built our senior year. That was the first graduating class out of the new school there in Stuttgart. And so that was really, really cool. But then, senior year, looking at colleges, looking at where I was going to go, I was very much a kid that liked to take the easiest route. Like I wanted to have a balance. My mom would always tell me, like, if you just applied yourself, you could have all A's. I'm like, Mom, I have A's and B's. Like, what's the problem? Like, I'm not working really hard. I have A's and B's. Like, I'm cool with it. Like, I don't mind. And, like I have a good social life, which I thought was important at the time. And so, I just didn't apply to many I didn't apply to many colleges. I remember I applied to UNI, which was the University of Northern Iowa, which was close to my grandma at the time. But then I was like, I cannot be that close to my grandma. She's going to always want me to visit. And I was like, I can't be having that. And so then I also wanted to try to wrestle. I knew that as well. So then I applied. I looked at the University of Iowa and I was like, 80% acceptance rate. I was like, all right, I'm going to apply there. Got accepted. Didn't apply to any other school. And I don't know about you, but for me, I had the option, I got in-state tuition anywhere, I wanted to. And so like I quite literally could have picked, any school that I wanted to go to. But I think partly I picked it because my brother went there. I knew, like if I went there, I would have some sort of family member that, I could fall back on and kind of be close. Additionally, I was looking for, a good Christian program to be a part of. I thought that was really important to me. And my brother had found this organization called SALT through the college ministry there. And so I was like, all right, I'm in. I'm going to just go there. And then ended up going there and getting plugged into that Christian program and trying to walk onto the wrestling team and was practicing with them for a while until that didn't work out. And then ended up just finishing my 4 years out there. In 2018, I met my now wife, Erin, at a Bible camp that I was volunteering at. One summer I was like, I need something that looks good on a resume for teaching. And so a buddy of mine was like, hey, how about you come out and come to this Bible camp? And so I went out as a camp counselor and I loved it. And then that's where I met my wife. And then shortly after that summer, we started talking and really the rest is history from there. And we got married just recently in 2021, July 9th of 2021, and have been married a little over 2 years now. And so I got a job as a teacher when I graduated the University of Iowa here in her hometown. Her mother actually had pancreatic cancer. I always told Erin, I don't want to live in a small town. I'm a military brat. I'm used to moving. I'm used to, and when I say small town, here it's, where I live now is like 30,000, pretty small for me, coming from, the cities that I used to live in. But I realize now that I've lived here, this is small, but it's not as small as it could be in some of these places in the Midwest. So I'm sort of, counting my blessings, but I always told her I didn't want to live in a small town. I'm not going to Muscatine. I'm not moving to from where you grew up. Like I want to live somewhere that at least has a target, right? Like, I mean, I don't have like a lot of expectations, like, at least have a target in the community. Like, and so like our biggest store here is Walmart. Like, so if that tells you anything, but anyways, I ended up moving here because her mom had pancreatic cancer. So I got a job close. I'm a semester ahead of my wife in school. And so she was studying to be a teacher as well. So she did her student teaching over here. I got a job as an online second grade teacher. And then that allowed me, because this was during the height of COVID in 2020. And so that allowed me to teach from home. And then I wasn't exposed to a lot of people, so I could go and visit her mother who was pretty sick. That was like important to them because they didn't want me, being exposed to a lot of people and then going to see her mom who was already compromised. Yeah. And so I did that, and then eventually the next year in 2021, I got a job in the school as a fourth grade teacher, and then we got married in 2021 in July, and then her mom passed away that August. And so she got to see our wedding, which, something that, was a goal of ours. And that was tough, obviously, on my wife and on our marriage as a whole, just going through something like that. And but we've grown from it. And so now I am taking a break from teaching. Actually, I taught for 3 years, and now I just started a new job as a fundraising representative for a company called Leading Edge, and we do fundraising for sports teams. So I still get to work with kids. I get to be around sports, which is something that I'm passionate about. And we get to help coaches out and build relationship with coaches and earn them the most money possible in the easiest way. So love the company I work for. It's actually started by a Christian guy who, encourages us to talk about our faith if that comes up with our coaches and stuff like that. So it's definitely something that I prayed for to be able to do. So, so it's really, really cool to get to do that. A lot of drive-in, a lot of no's from coaches, not used to getting said no to. It's a sales job, so there's a lot of no's in it. And so, still getting used to that and adjusting to getting said no to. But I'm enjoying the new opportunities and the new skills that I'm learning through this new job. I mean, kind of getting outside my comfort zone. So that was kind of the short synopsis. I know it seemed pretty long, but the short synopsis of kind of my life and kind of where I went after Belgium. Yeah.
That's awesome. First of all, congratulations on getting married.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes. I'm sorry for you guys' loss. I understand it's not easy at all. I went through a couple losses the last couple of years as well. And the fact that you guys had each other through that is amazing. And it's a testament of how you because it was her mom. And that's a big thing, So for you to be there to support her through it all and for her to have that patience with you, because it's like you're just getting married and she loses her mom. So it's amazing to see that you guys got through that.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Of course. My question to you is, because you said you're not used to saying no, but do you think you being compared to your brother kind of prepared you for this job that you have now? Because you're being told no, but at the same time with your brother, it was always he's stronger, he's this, he's that, and you continue to strive to be all those things. And now you can kind of use that same spirit for what you're doing now.
That's a great question. And I guess I never really thought about it like that. I've always been someone who's determined no matter what and no matter what the odds. And I think if I think about it, comparing myself to my brother is the reason why I think some of those values in how I go about doing things, those are some things that contribute to it. Like me being compared to my brother, I always set out, if someone tells me no, or I go through something hard, I don't give up. And that's something. And I would say, so to answer your question, I would say, yes. Where I see it as kind of a flaw is that I'm always really hard on myself. And kind of when I get said no to, or when I feel like I've done all the preparation to do something, to complete something, and it doesn't go my way, I get so self-critical. And I'm really, go lay down. Sorry, I have to go lay down.
I understand. I do the same thing. He doesn't listen unless I get that big voice. It's
yeah, exactly. He's gonna be doing it this whole time if I don't yell at him here for a second. No. Okay. All right. So where I find it kind of bad is that I'm always constantly I'm my biggest critic. I say, oh, you're not good enough. If you get said no to, that means you're not good enough. You didn't do good enough. And I don't let that stop me from, going out and trying, but I do have bouts of, talking to myself, talking down on myself. This kind of goes hand in hand to, so when I graduated college, I had a girlfriend the beginning of college for the first 2 years. And then I broke up with her and then kind of quickly started dating my now wife. So I was always comfortable and didn't really feel the need to impress people. So I let my weight and when I didn't make the wrestling team, I kind of, didn't really exercise a whole lot as much. I would go play pickup games or I'd go to the gym occasionally, but it wasn't it's crazy how much, when you go from doing a sport in high school And then you go and, you know, like you think you have like this fast metabolism and you're never going to get fat. Like that's how I felt. Like, you know, you knew me when I was, like, I'm a scrawny little kid. Like I didn't think I could ever, you know, be overweight. And then I find myself, I graduate and I'm 225 pounds and I'm like, okay, like, and I was looking in the mirror and I wasn't happy with what I was seeing. And so, you know, like I ended up, you know, grinding super hard. But I talked to myself and said, dude, Jared, what are you doing? And I would talk to myself and like, and I said, you don't look good. Like you don't look good, which to a point is healthy, but to some point, like even now, you know, like so for a year I did a triathlon every week. And that was my goal. So at first it started with, I'm going to do a triathlon at the Y once a month. And that's going to keep me in the gym, and I'm going to just be in the gym. So I like to set lofty goals for myself and just wild goals that, you know, that keep me, you know, that's just how my crazy mind works. If I don't set myself a crazy goal, then I'm going to slack off. So it started with a month. And then the first week I did it at the beginning of the year, come second week, I was like, I could do another triathlon this week. Like, you know, I'm feeling good. Like it was Monday. I was like, I'm going to do another one. So then I changed the goal from a triathlon a month. I was like, I'm going to do a triathlon a week. So then that was like my new goal. And I had this voice in my head. And, you know, this is from being compared to my brother. Like there's going to be people who doubt you. There's going to be people who think that you can't do this. There's going to be people thinking like, yeah, right. You didn't do a triathlon every week. And that's how I motivated myself. Like that self-doubt and talk in my head, I'd always like picture people saying negative things to me, saying like, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. That motivated me, which, you know, some people will say like, you know, that's not a good thing. But I don't know. That's how I've always intrinsically motivated myself. People think I can't. People think I'm weak. People think, you know, I'm inferior to my brother, you know, like that's kind of where that came from. And it drove me. I got down. I had a goal weight of 180, and within that year, I hit 180 at the end of the year, and from 225, and so I was happy with myself. But what I realized was that whole year, I was kind of neglecting my wife and my duties as a husband to give her the attention that she needed, because I was grinding. Like when I tell you, I was in the gym for like 3 hours, like grinding every day. And I'm very much a person of habit. And if I, you know, take a break or like take a day off, it messes my whole feng shui up. Like I need to have consistency. If I'm not on myself with consistency and I say, okay, I can take this day off, well, then it comes 2 days. Well, then it comes, you know, like, all right, you know, that's all right. I took 2 days off last week. I can take 2 days off this week. And so like I got so ingrained in my mind this whole year that I'm not missing a single day. I'm grinding as hard as I can because I have a goal in mind. And it really took away from my relationship with my wife, which we really struggled because, you know, like the attention, like I would come home, I would leave from school, go straight to the gym, be there for 3 hours. I would come home, kind of either make dinner or expect dinner to be made. I would want to just chill out and relax. We both are teachers. So I was like, I don't really want to hear about your, you know, and it sounds horrible, but I was like, I know what you're going through because I'm also a teacher. So like, I know the struggles. I don't want to go and talk about teaching with you for another hour or two. You know, I'd rather just go and, you know, chill out, talk to my friends on Discord, and just, you know, veg out and just do something that is mind numbing because I had a long day. And so that was, at the time, I didn't realize it. Looking back on it was very unhealthy, obviously, for our relationship and kind of put a lot of strain on our relationship. So, you know, this past year, I've been really cognizant about that, and kind of having to find a balance between, you know, wanting to stay healthy, but also being a good husband. And so I've definitely dialed back on my workout routine and like also just finding like alternatives. But because I've been dialing back, you know, I've put on 10 pounds of where I was at, and, you know, I'm back to being unhappy. I'm like, why? why did I let myself, like I want to be, I have that goal, I want a certain way I want to look and be happy with myself. And so like, it's a constant struggle that I'm having in my head of, being okay, where God has me now and with, my body, how it is, but also wanting to be healthy. But I'm trying to not make it as much of a toxic thing in my head to where it's like, I get so obsessed of like the way I look. Like I want to, I want to feel and look good. And if I don't, I feel like, I'm disappointed, in myself, my brother is this, has this physique that, it seems so easy for him to just keep and maintain. And like, and it's just like, it's frustrating because it's like, I just want that. And I have to work really hard at it. But I also want to give time to my wife. So it's a balance, and it's giving myself grace and knowing no matter what, God is happy with me. And so like, it doesn't matter all the accolades or, all the things I do on this earth, that stuff doesn't matter in the end. How you physically look, obviously you want to be healthy. But there's a balance there. So definitely been working this past year to balance, husband duties, as well as being healthy, and getting other things done that need to be done. So that's kind of where I'm at. But that was a great question. I know I went on a tangent, but that's a good question.
Honestly, because I do remember that time for you. And when you put it out on Facebook that you're going to do it, and I was like, well, I believe you, because I was like, well, Jared's that type of guy who's just going to go after whatever he's doing and just kill it. So I was like, I'm excited to see it. And by the way, you look amazing. I know that you may not think you do, but you look great. You're not like the little skinny pencil. I remember I was like, oh, what?
I know. I think that's what surprises people the most. Like when I tell people, I'm like, dude, my freshman year of high school, I weighed 98 pounds. Like, I was a toothpick. Like, and like, I just made a tiny progression every year. And like, that's why I never thought I would be big. And then like, now me and my brother are literally the same height and same stature. Like, and it's like, he's like, it's crazy to think that like what you were in high school and how you looked. And now like people are like, whoa. Like,
yeah, it's night and day. I was just like, but it's crazy because like you and I see other kids that were like your age as well that went to our school and they were pencils like you were, and like now they're all. I was like, what is life like?
I know.
Am I getting old? Because I feel like I'm getting old.
I know. I feel old. I feel like, and I look back. I'm like, in 3 years, and for you, it's already happened. Well, it'll be this upcoming year. In 3 years, 10 years since we're out of high school. And I'm like,
hey guys, I wanted to take a quick break to ask if you are enjoying this episode. Go ahead and follow us on Stories of a Dandelion right here on Spotify or wherever you're getting your podcast, as well as follow us on all of our social media accounts. Let's create this community full of military brats who feel that they're okay with opening up about their mental health, about sharing their journey, what they're going through, and create a place for beautiful healing through stories. So again, please go ahead and follow us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, as well as all of the social media accounts. Now let's get back to today's episode. But yeah, I never, with you and Bryce, I never really compared you to him because to me you were two completely different people. Like he was very introverted and very to himself, even though he did do sports and stuff like that. I never really got to know him like that. Even though he was a part of like the didn't he play football?
Because nope, no, he didn't want to hurt himself for wrestling and
that's right. Yeah, he did like wrestling and stuff. But yeah. But I didn't really know him, but I got to know you and I was just like, oh, I like this kid. I want to get to know this kid. Yeah, you were just this cute, adorable, very sweet, very loving person who would just come around and be like this light that everybody needed in the day. Like sometimes people like you'd be like, oh, here comes Jared. He's gonna be so loving and like he's gonna be very upbeat, and then like you comment. And then you come though, and you just make everything so much better. Even though in the moment, like if we're like pissed off about something, it's like, Jared, let us be pissed off about something. Right. But then you come and it's like, God dang it, I gotta do it.
I really had no cares like in the world when I was in ninth grade, and back then, like it just feels unreal to think about, like, man, those days just fly by, like, and it just seems like, so just, I just advise, people who are in high school listening just to enjoy it. Like, cause man, it was a long time ago, but it didn't seem, to go by fast at the time. But then you look back on it and be like, dang, like that flew by. Yeah. And so I miss those days. I think about often, going back in high school and, reliving, just one or two of those days, like I don't want to be a high schooler again, obviously, but, just the carefree, everyone just, enjoying life. So exactly. But I appreciate you saying that, about comparing my brother and I, and that you didn't really do that. I really tried to be different and be kind of my own, but also wanting to be competitive. And all I heard throughout high school was, "Oh, your brother's so high. Your brother's so high." Like, that's like all I constantly heard. Like, you think does your brother talk like anybody? And blah blah blah. And I'm like, yo, I don't know. Like, I'd go ask him. Like, I don't know. So it was constantly. I felt that, but yeah, with like you and a couple of special other people, like it was very much like I felt like my own relationship. Whereas like they weren't really talking about my brother and stuff like that, which I thought was very unique and cool, and I appreciated. So.
Yeah, I think the really good thing was that he was in his senior year. So, like, it was like he was leaving. So, like, I was like, whatever. Like, he's like, what?
Right.
We're in high school. Right. I don't know why, but yeah, Belgium was very bleak.
Yeah, it was.
Very bleak. There wasn't a lot of good looking people. So. Yeah, it was like, I understand what you mean, like when everybody just kept coming up to you, because I had a lot of people that were like my older siblings too, and people were like, "Oh, are they dating somebody?" I'm like, I don't really know nor care. Like, why should you?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess I want to make one thing clear. Like, my brother and I's relationship has always been like strong. Like, and I don't ever like want anyone to think otherwise. I love my brother, and it's not his fault. Like, none of this is his fault. It's the way we were raised. It's the way things happen, and my brother can't control what people say. And so, like, my brother and I have actually had these conversations together, and he's even apologized for the way people have talked to me, and how even like parents, our parents treating us in different ways that always talking very highly of my brother, and when it comes to me, oh, I don't know like about him, and so, like, I think some of the stuff also comes from the way we were raised and talked about on that level, but I love my brother, and always wish nothing but success for him. He actually lives here in Iowa as well, so I get to see him from time to time, and he recently just became a chaplain in the Army, and so
nice. Congratulations to him.
His years that he has to serve because he had his ROTC scholarship, and so he's finishing out his 2 years that he has, and then he's going to figure out what he wants to do from there. But he went to seminary school and became a chaplain. So happy for him, and love my brother to death. Wouldn't have it any other way. So.
Oh, yeah. You never talk negative about your brother. Like, if somebody did, like, you were the first to defend, and I would be like, oh, okay.
I did. I would talk trash about my brother. That's because we were competitive. But yeah, no one else could talk bad about my brother because, that was my brother. So I always look up for him.
Completely understand that. That. So I'm glad that you see, like, the energy that you did have with your brother is like helping you, and you said that it can like go too far, so like what are you implementing in place to keep that regulated? Like, because I know you said like you don't right now you don't feel as healthy as you could be. And so how are you regulating it physically to be able to set boundaries for everything you have to do? And then mentally, because that's a mental battle every day that you have to fight.
Yeah. Great question. Physically, I would say one thing, that I've worked on a lot is time management. So like when I'm doing things. So like making sure that, I have no one else to blame but myself if, my time management is bad. So like, like I can wake up at 4:30, 5:00 and, get in something in the morning. There's no excuse there. I just am not a morning person. So like, I really try to just manage my time in a sense of, like making sure that I'm being considerate when it comes to, maybe this night's my night to make dinner. I can't go to the gym. So I'm going to, make dinner and then maybe go on a light jog somewhere or do something. So really just being more cognizant of my time management, while also finding alternatives. I'm very much a person like, if I don't work out for 3 hours, I didn't work out at all. Like if I don't sweat, like I don't get how people don't sweat when they work out. But I sweat like a pig. So, but I'm like, I need to be like drenched and like breathing heavy. Like that's how I feel like I worked out. But I realized that, like all my sessions aren't going to be 3 hours and I'm not going to feel the most tired after an activity or workout. So it's just like finding alternative ways of working out that, like I've recently picked up pickleball. And so like that's fun. And I find a lot of enjoyment in that, and that's still exercise and it's moving my body. I'm training for a marathon that I want to run. And so I do that. And so like just setting goals and then finding other ways of exercising that may not be going to the gym for a long time. Mentally, a lot of prayer, very much asking God to like settle my heart and in my thoughts of, being enough, just, okay with where I am at while also, still being healthy, still making those healthy decisions, but being happy with what God has given me in the moment. And really just asking God to remove like negative thoughts of myself, like so bad that like when people give me compliments, like I don't like compliments. Like I hate them. Like, cause I don't believe them in my head. So then like, I don't know how other people can be thinking that of me because like, I know myself. I feel like I know myself the best. But then like reminding myself that God loves me no matter what. And God, doesn't love you more because, you're 180 or 190. He doesn't love you more because you look a little bit better than what you did. Like God loves you in just as much now as he loved you then. And when you were 225 pounds, and that doesn't go away. And, I truly believe that, that's all that matters. And that, what matters to God is more like spiritual things, like what you're doing spiritually. Are you enriching yourself? Are you in the word as much as you're in the gym? Like that's important. Right. And so like replacing my thought of, I need to be in the gym more with, I need to be in God's word more so that my mind is healthy, so that I'm not, having these thoughts of, I didn't work out today, so I just feel so crappy about myself, or I didn't get this in. So, I look at myself in the mirror, like, how could you, skip out? And so really just digging into God's word in prayer and doing a lot more prayer and talking to God on my long drives with my new job, and just getting that reassurance that, it's okay. Like I don't need to have everything together. It doesn't need to always be something, if I miss a workout, it's going to be okay. And you're going to get there. So that's kind of what I've been doing mentally recently. Well, what I've always done, but as of recently, more and more of prayer and just talking to God and staying in his word, reminding myself of the truth, and not letting the devil, win in my thoughts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I completely understand. For me, I suck at taking compliments as well.
Yeah.
I talked to my therapist about this and she was like, why? I was like, I don't know. I just like, for some reason in my head, like I believe the compliment for me, but it's like, I don't feel like I'm being humble if I'm like, oh, thanks. Like that's like exactly what I think about me. That's kind of weird, you know? And even though people are like, oh, she can never take a compliment and, you know, she's very humble. For me, I never was able to be like, God made me this way and he wants me to be confident in the way he's made me. So when somebody gives me a compliment, it's complimenting him. And for me to say, oh, no, that's not me, it's like I'm insulting who he made me to be,
That's a good,
you
that's
know?
a good way of putting it. Yeah.
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 So for me, I'm slowly learning. Like I have my affirmations on my closet and I'm like, it says, one of them says, you know, I accept the compliments I receive. Like I deserve the compliments I receive because God has created me to be who I am. Therefore, the child I am in him, I'm going to celebrate it because that's what
Totally.
he would want me to do. Give all glory to him and just be
Totally.
like, thank you. You know, God's been working on me and this is where I am now. And I'm happy to be where I am. I'm happier where I am now than I was like 2 years ago. So it's all about, yeah, I understand it's perspective and
Yeah.
you have to change it.
Absolutely.
Um,
And I appreciate you sharing that, and definitely something that, like I need to think about more. Like, like you said, like God made us this way. God made me the way I am, and with my faults and with the good things and the bad things. And like if I get a compliment from someone, like you know, not taking it for myself, but taking it
mhm.
for the Creator who made me, and uh, I think what happens in my mind is I'm afraid of being braggadocious. I'm
Yeah.
already have already worked on that so much. Like I'm braggadocious in sports and like anything athletic. Like I try not to be, but I always
Mhm.
come off as that, like because I'm super competitive. And so then like when people give me compliments, I always try to like, oh no, like I appreciate it, but like, and then I try to discredit myself because
Exactly.
I don't want to come off as like this person who thinks like, yeah, oh yeah, thanks, yep, and
Mhm.
then they're like, oh yeah, that dude's cocky, like, and so I think that's in my mind where it goes, but having that mindset of it's just the person that God created you, and if you have these good attributes, it's not because of what you've done. It's not because of who you are. Like
Mhm.
you didn't do anything. All good things come through Christ, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that's a great perspective. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Of
That's awesome.
course. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Trust me, it's taken me forever to get here.
yeah,
Just started therapy this year. So,
that's awesome. That's awesome, and I think
yeah.
that's something that is very underrated and something that I think when we grew up that was very much a negative
Yeah.
thing. And it's something that my wife and I go to therapy, and so like it's just something that is very important for mental health and just talking, like being able to have a someone to talk to and
Mhm.
open up to and express these thoughts to, because we none of us have everything figured out, and we definitely need someone on the outside telling us and reassuring us like of different things, or letting us know when too much is too much, or you need to be doing something else. And so yeah, that's awesome. And it's awesome to hear that you're taking care of yourself and doing the things that you need to do, and I applaud you for that. So
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah. It's difficult, you know, because I've said it for years, you know, I need to go to therapy, all the stupid stuff like with my dad when I was a kid and stuff. But I was just like, you know, I would look at my family and I'm like, well, black people don't go to therapy. Like
Mhm.
that was the thing. The stigma was black people don't go to therapy. We go to therapy. We're considered crazy in our family. So it was just one of those things like, I can do the same thing I was doing. I would just hold it in, keep it going, hold it in, keep it going. And then you see how your family explodes on each other
Mhm.
all the time. And it's like, do I want to be that person or do I
Right.
want to be better for the future generations, you know? So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's one of the things that comes to mind for me. It wasn't hard. I mean, it wasn't hard. I mean, it was hard because I was
Yeah.
like the first one. I was like, if I don't blurt it all out this session, it's never coming out. So
Right, right. That first session is definitely like spew, mouth spew, like here's everything you need to know about me. Like I'm not holding anything back. Like we got to get on the same level of so you know exactly how to help me.
exactly from day one, like
Yeah,
you got to be
exactly.
my best friend right now.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, it's I'm glad that you guys go to therapy, especially because like you're a new couple, and like they say, like the first year of marriage is the hardest, and because like you're adapting to one another, and I wonder like how did that go for you guys because you're younger, like I mean I'm 27 and you're like what 24.
25.
25. Okay, yeah.
25. Yep, close. Uh, but yeah, it's gone well. We still go, monthly, every other month, sometimes. But it definitely helps us. We learn a lot about each other, like stuff that we're getting better at communicating. I'm still not the best communicator of like the way I feel all the time or like thoughts that go through my head. I mean, my ADHD, my thoughts are here and then they're gone, and then if like I don't say them right away, then I forget to talk about them, and so like therapy is definitely a time where we can come together and I get to kind of say my piece of, kind of where my head is at. And I think it helps Aaron kind of, oh, I never knew, like, I didn't know that that was what you were thinking. Like, I didn't know that that was something that, that was on your mind. So it kind of gives us perspective on, like, okay, like these are things that I had no idea. And it helps us communicate with each other better at home and like in certain scenarios where we're getting heated or something's happening, we have expectations for one another and kind of how to deal with those situations, and instead of either just immediately being reactive. And so that's one thing I've definitely learned, and I'm still learning. I'm a very reactive person, and so taking time to break down in my emotions and what's causing those emotions has also been something that I've learned through therapy, and something that is helping for sure. And so I think like therapy is something that you could do that for the rest of your life. Like it's feels good to talk to someone else and let someone else in on the chaos of life and
Mm-hmm.
going through things, because it just gives you more of a broader perspective instead of two perspectives that if you don't see eye to eye, well now where are we at. So kind of just levels us out and kind of says, oh, okay, I see the other side now.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Because, some insight for me when I get to that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
um,
Absolutely.
you said first of all, didn't know you had ADHD.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah,
Never
you
knew
did.
that.
You could have
Yeah.
guessed that.
I
Come
mean,
on
I
now.
could have, but I mean, like, you just, like, in our school, what do you assume? Like, everybody was
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
2.2
I
crazy.
always I always say that everyone has a form of ADHD. Like
Yeah.
whether whether it's minor or very major,
Mm-hmm.
that everyone has a form of ADHD. But yeah, I got diagnosed with ADHD in middle/elementary, going into middle, and then took some medication for a while. But I always kind of I was mad at my teachers, one, because they would never address things in class to me.
Mm-hmm.
I would get in trouble as much as the rest of the kids for talking. Like I'm like, everyone else is talking. You just caught me talking at this time, so now
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought like I have A's and B's. Like like what do you mean I have ADHD? What, there's something wrong with me? So like I
Mm-hmm.
always viewed it as like there's something wrong with me. Now I need medication because you think there's something wrong with me. And I kind of had an uneasy, like at first is like, I'm not taking these pills. And I was always told my parents, I'm not doing that. I ended up taking them for a bit. And then in high school, I was like, well, I may want to do ROTC. In college, I can't be on medication if I'm going to get an ROTC scholarship. And so like I stopped in middle school, and then going into high school. And then really from there, just learned ways to like cope. And I think for a lot of people, um, you know, I would suggest, trying as a kid, it's harder, right? Like finding your coping mechanisms is hard as a kid because you're just trying to figure a lot of things out. And so like going into high school, like for, I struggled at first and I realized like, when I have something on my mind, I just want to say it. And it comes out even when I am doing this podcast right now, like I'll go down rabbit trails and I'm like, oh yeah, what was I talking about? Like and get back on the road like that. And so I've had to learn to just deal and adjust and figure out what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And not to say like there are things that I still really struggle with because of my ADHD, like writing things down and going back and looking at them and like making sure that I have like, set things in place in a schedule like that stuff for me. I've never been a scheduling person, but I'm learning and I'm adapting and I am learning what works for me and really just like tips and tricks for myself to get myself organized into where, maybe everyone else's brain or a lot of other people's brain are, focused or on point. So it's an everyday struggle and I see it in this new job. I like to talk and I like to jump the gun a lot. And so like, and that has to do with like, I get a thought in my head and I want to say it before it goes because, once it's gone, I may forget to even bring it up. So like, I'll talk to someone and instead of just like listening to them like you are like right now, like just listening to someone talk, like I'll think of something and just like, I'll just say it because I'm like, oh, I need to get this in. And so learning, that's something that I'm definitely working on in this job is definitely helping me with just being patient and like storing those thoughts and just like saying like, hey, you're going to get back to them. Like let the person finish speaking before you rush in and say something. So yeah, ADHD for sure. My mom always said I'd, lose my head if it wasn't attached to my shoulders. So yeah, I have a lot of energy. That's where a lot of my energy comes from as well. Just a lot of crazy ideas and things like that. So
I mean, it's good because with ADHD, I feel like you use that to focus on like getting yourself back into shape and just doing that stuff. So like, yeah, I see it does have its negatives, but I see a lot of positives in like the people that have ADHD because they go on to like create businesses and do different things because whatever they're passionate about, they become very fixated on,
Absolutely.
So yeah. What ways did you start coping in high school and middle school to take you off medication? Just for people who are listening who may have ADHD.
Yeah. In middle school was a little harder. I was on medication for a time. And what I ended up doing was like, I had to like one, try to write things down. And two, just like really intentionally try and focus on one thing at a time. Like if I tried to do too many things, like, like if I tried to, write things down and then while also, not interrupt, like I always got told, hey, say every third word that comes to your mind and then you'll be good. And so like I had to really just focus on one thing at a time, if it was not blurting out and like, just like, then that's what I would focus on until like I learned, okay, you got this down. And so throughout high school, it was very much like being on top of myself of, well, now you're in high school, you're getting a little bit more of independence with your class. You have multiple classes that you got to get to that require different things. And I think ROTC helped a lot with that. It helped with my discipline. Mm-hmm. Sergeant Ewing would take no slack. Like she wouldn't. I remember standing in those formations when she was doing inspection, and she was on you. Like you had one little thing wrong, point docked, and I was like, oh. And all it took was like 4 points docked for you to fail the inspection, and it was like, dude. So it that specific, ROTC, and my parents always say JROTC was really good for you because it made me concerned about the detail. Like it made me go back and really focus on details matter, and you can't just rush and get something done last minute. Granted, I still procrastinate and have things that I do last minute, but I need the products, that I put out need to be, good. into a standard that is high, not just average. And so just learning that and slowing down, slow down, gather your thoughts, figure out what you want to do, whether that be like a school project, a paper. Because even in my papers, it would feel like I'm talking about 30 different things. Like you need to focus on one thing. And so just making sure that I'm narrowing my focus. And so all this came with just focusing one thing at a time until, I found the ways that worked for me in each of these areas and kind of used that skill that I learned. And it's different for everybody. Like I wish I could go on here and say like, hey, this is how you do this and this is how you do this. But that's not the case. Like what worked for me is not going to work for, everybody. Yeah. And so really what you have to do is be honest with yourself of where your weaknesses are. I think that was a struggle of mine. Like I hate, I don't like being perceived as weak. Like I don't like having weaknesses. And so like I'd always like try to say that it wasn't a weakness until like something happened where I messed up or something. And I'm like, oh, like, yeah, I probably should be doing that. Like I probably should be more careful. I probably should take my time. Like, and I would have to learn the hard way because that's how I have always been. Like I learned the hard way of doing things. And so find the way that works for you and run with it. And, like just try your best. And, you're going to fail and you're going to figure out what doesn't work. And it may take you a couple of times failing, but that's okay. Like you're going to learn what works for you in the end. And I'm not to say like maybe some people really do need that medication and it helps them. Like, yeah, that's okay too. Like if you feel that way, like I have nothing against that. For me, it was just one of those things I had to prove myself that I could do it without medication because, like I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And so every day I'm proving to myself and I still struggle, but it's like you said, it's not just a curse. There's also blessing in it because I have been able, it helped in teaching, being energetic, being, I felt like I really related with the kids because, I was excited about things and I was all over the place sometimes with my mind. And, like, I don't know if you saw, like I shaved my head for my kids when they reached their reading goal and, it's just crazy stuff like that, like, with teaching, having ADHD can be a good thing because, you can relate to the kids. And it also helped me relate to those kids in class that misbehaved and that are high energy. And like, I could teach in a way that I thought would, work for them and get them out of their seats, get them going because, I saw myself in them. And so it definitely has helped me in my teaching as well. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because we need more teachers like you because I think when we were growing up, ADHD and all of that, like it was kind of like, take the medicine, sit there and learn like everybody else learns, Yeah. Anyway, last question.
Okay.
All right. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Man, so this is something, it's a great question and I won't answer it, but I will preface it with saying I have recently tried to, God has been showing me, and we briefly talked about this through text, but God has really been showing me to not try to focus so much on the future. I've been so consumed of like being financially secure and like making sure I have everything figured out. And, like I want to set myself up and for success. My kids, I want my kids to have things that I don't have. Or be able to have some of the same opportunities that I had growing up. And, so, I used to, and I still do, and I'm trying to get a better habit of not, but like think about being a forward thinker and, like thinking about the future. And I think to an extent it's healthy. And knowing what you want in life is healthy, and knowing like, having goals and attaining those goals are very healthy. But when it becomes like all you think about and you miss like things in the moment and miss where you are now and enjoying life where you are, you miss out on a lot. And so like, I've been trying to balance it. So to answer your question, in 5 years, hopefully, God willing, have some kids, a kid, within 5 years.
One year?
Maybe one, maybe no. I want 2 to 3. But obviously, God has this plan, so we'll see where we're at. And I know that having kids doesn't work how we thought it did when you were a kid. It's like you can choose when to have a kid, and it just happens. Like it's not like that. Like things have to work out. You got to plan it, and sometimes you're not always successful. So it's like it comes when it comes, and so like. Hopefully a kid or a couple in 5 years, and then my own house, either making payments on my own house or owning my own house is a goal of mine, and just being financially secure are my big ones. So that's where I kind of see myself in 5 years. I don't know if it will be in Iowa. We will see. I never plan to stay here for a long time. And I'm kind of here. And my wife and I have something coming up where her father actually has a house that he's letting us move into to save some money. And so who knows, maybe, we'll be there for a little bit until we have enough money, and then who knows where God will send us. And so that's kind of where I see myself in 5 years. But again, can't stress enough, like the importance of living for the now and being, content with my situation, even though I may not, think it's the greatest situation to be in right now, and, scraping by every month with, paying for things, and it's tough. And I think just these early mid, like your 20s are just tough financially. Like, they just suck. And, you hear it's like, it's your toughest part of your financial life. And so like, but I know that God has something for me to learn in this time. And, there's things to be gleaned from this time, and it's not all bad. And it's the struggle is important for, your story. And so I think that I'm trying to take every day as it comes, because tomorrow's not promised, like I could think about 5 years from now, and then, like I die in my sleep. And obviously I'm not trying to be morbid or something, but anything, like anything can happen, right? Yeah. Car crash, whatever, like your life could be over before you know it. And so like living for in the moment, and for, those loved ones, and those cherishing those every moment that you have right now is so important. And really what I'm learning from God as I go through life right now in my mid-20s. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm expected to be. And I said at the beginning, and I mean it, like it's amazing what you're doing here. And I think just so important, because, it's important to know that, us military brats, and, and people in general, like a lot of times you feel like you're going through it alone, and like you're like, not to say your situation is not unique, but you feel like you're the only person that could possibly be going through this, and everyone else has everything figured out. And it's really not the case. And something that I've been learning, like, struggling is happens with everybody, and whether they portray that or not, like you may not see it, but it definitely happens, and no one has it all put together. And so like what you're doing here, and allowing people to come on and talk about kind of their experiences and what they've gone through, and it's just amazing, because it allows people to just like, come out of their shell and speak up, and kind of say, okay, like, like things are going to be all right. Like I'm going to make it through. And if that person's making it through, like I'm going to make it through, and kind of giving people hope. So I really, really, really love what you're doing, and keep it up. And I'm going to definitely be praying for your success, and just, I'm looking forward to what God has in store for you, because I know it's going to be pretty big. So keep it up.
Thank you. Same with you, Jared. Same with you. You're awesome. Always have been. We've reconnected now, so you're back in my life. It's official.
Hey, let's go.
So I might hit up Iowa, because I've been trying to hit all 50 states. So I might come through to see you. I don't know, like Raquel. I don't know if Raquel's in Iowa or Idaho, but she was like, it wasn't for her.
That's so funny. Like everyone who like is like Idaho? No, Iowa.
Yeah, I think she was in Iowa. Yeah, she was like, it wasn't for her, but I'm gonna go get a little taste of it, and then
we'll show you around. We got some good things. We're not all boring, but definitely a different way of life around here. But it's definitely something that's pretty cool and unique. So and I think that's with every state. So in every place has something to offer. So yeah, come through. You always have a place to stay at my place. So, and that's one thing that I love about being a military brat. You just having friends from all over, like it always feels like you have a place to stay. Like it's like, well, I could probably find someone who lives in that state where I could like crash if I needed to, so I think that's really cool. But it
is. It's awesome. I appreciate you, Jared. Thank you for being on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Tell your wife I said hi. I haven't met her yet, but can't wait to meet her one day.
I'm about to actually go meet her for dinner. So
have fun.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. You too.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning in for another episode on the Stories of the Dandelion podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please go and share it with a friend, a colleague, or even a family member. And make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms so you can stay up to date on when the episodes are coming out and what is involved in each episode. Thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you all next Military Brat Monday.